lunch? Yes, did you read your capital survival guide and know that there is no healthy options in this building? There's a reason why the legislators, can't make good decisions because they don't have good healthy food. All right, hopefully you will not fall asleep. Well, you can't fall asleep with this next panel. I am so excited about this. I actually told my friends to send over a bio, but then I didn't actually bring this bio with me to give them a proper introduction. These are amazing friends of mine. This next panel discussion we are speaking is basically vaccine choice and the future. We were hoping to share with you a video from a mock legislature of sorts, a training program that takes place here in August every single year that my son participated in with the founders of this program. We can't get that to work, so that's okay. Good news, we have the founders with us. Rick and Kara Green are amazing champions in this fight. Rick is a former legislator. They're the founders of Patriot Academy, which is a training program to equip the next generation of leaders. They personally support vaccine choice, they support medical freedom and liberty, and they are training up the next generation of warriors and advocates. My children participate in this program, and I truly believe in investing in the future heavily. He is a dynamic speaker. They're an amazing family. Many of you met them 2 years ago, and we're so proud to welcome back to the stage Rick and Kara Green.
There we go. First of all, I thank God for Jackie Schlegel. And I mean that. I literally thank the Lord for her. She is amazing. What you guys do is absolutely amazing. And there are people that come to the Capitol that have no experience and they're like a bull in a china closet and they just make a lot of noise. That is not Jackie. She is so strategic. She has such good discernment. I believe God has raised her up for this battle, and she's just been incredibly successful because I think He's been blessing her in this, and we're just thrilled to come alongside you, lock shields with you, and join you in the battle.
I know you didn't choose this battle, and the battle chose you, unfortunately, but you're doing an amazing job. You're raising your kids to understand what civic engagement is, and you're passing on some really good values to them. And y'all all are, and I'm so, just thankful that this room is almost full today. That's amazing because we don't see this very often.
And your artwork is incredible. I don't know, if you'd been around in 2000 when I was fighting this battle, my goodness, what we could have done.
Rachel Davis, right here.
Good stuff. Do you do volunteer work for other nonprofits? Okay, good. Yeah, all right, we'll talk after this.
Quadruple the price.
All right, well, let's dive in. What do you want to talk about first, baby?
Well, first of all, we want to make it a conversation. Y'all jump in, raise your hand if you have any questions throughout this. We're not like...
Hey, the Lieutenant Governor of Patriot Academy from a couple years ago is here. He's taking pictures. I'm wondering what's going on here. Andrew Cook is in the house! Yes! I'm sorry, go ahead, baby. Conversation, yes.
Conversation style. We're good at that. We don't want this. We're not lecturing. We're not probably teaching you anything new that you don't already know. You've got great leadership in Jackie and Rebecca already.
Yeah, unlike the World Health Organization and the Health Minister of the UK and Facebook, we're not interested in silencing voices. We actually want to encourage people to speak out and talk. So we really want to have a conversation with you. So jump in at any time, interrupt us. We're just going to give a little bit of our history, how we became engaged in this particular battle, and hopefully our story will encourage you and also show you that every vote counts in every race. Do not stop campaigning until 7 p.m. on Election Day after the last person has gone through the line and finished voting. Our experience is that every vote definitely counts. We also want you to realize how much you're showing up here today matters and how important your voice is. So where do you want to start?
First of all, just to let you know how every vote counts, when Rick first ran for the legislature in 1998.
I had more hair, it was darker, and I had the telegenic coif going.
You were 26,
26.
27, and I was 24, and we were like so naive, And he won. He beat a powerful incumbent at the time.
Barely.
And we had 3 counties, and there were about 30,000 votes in that general election. And
Well, she said I won, but I lost.
well, that's the thing. Get this. This is when you know, hanging chads, all, you know, you didn't, it wasn't electronic, it was all manual voting. And on election night, we went to bed literally thinking he lost by 26 votes.
20.
20 votes.
20 votes.
Gosh,
One homeschool family.
yeah, literally. So we were just like, you know, we worked so hard, and you know how hard it is on those defeats, because we had this election cycle that y'all worked hard on. So we went to bed thinking he had lost. Well, it automatically.
And by the way, the worst part, I'm sorry I keep interrupting her, but the worst part was all the calls, and I'd run into somebody and they'd say, oh, Rick, 20 votes, man, I forgot to vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
It made a difference. Or 20 votes, I could have gotten you, 10 votes if I just known it was going to be that close.
And then it automatically triggered a recount. We had an army of volunteers show up because we had to hand count every single vote. And so we did that over, I don't know, it was like 2 days or something. And we had to dispute every single ballot that had the little stylus pushed in his name, but it did not go all the way through. So if there was even an indentation in his name, we said this vote should go to him because it previously was not counted. We had to fight tooth and nail for every single ballot like that. At the end of the recount, he won by 36 votes.
That's 2 homeschool families. So. It was pretty cool because it helped us to first of all go through that emotion of losing and winning. It made us appreciate it a whole lot more. It actually, we were on national media and all that because of the recap and everything, so it kind of gave us a little bit of a boost coming into the legislature. And anyway, so it was definitely a reminder though. So every election, and in fact, I mean even the election a couple of terms later that I lost was by only 200 votes out of 45,000. Both of my Supreme Court races that I ran in, we lost by 1 vote per precinct. So just think about that. Well, that's statewide, all right? So we're just here to tell you, every vote counts. And in these legislative races, you can multiply your votes so easily because most people don't know who they're going to vote for. They don't even know who's running. So when you post your Facebook page with a list of candidates that you're endorsing in the race, that matters. It influences. Sometimes it's a dozen votes, and you may dismiss that and say, well, that's 50,000 people are going to vote. We're the example. A dozen votes is huge. But some of you have hundreds of people that will look at your Facebook page and your list of candidates, and it will influence that. Because most people don't have time to do what you're doing today. Most people don't have time to study the candidates and know who the champions are and know who the folks are that are going to sell you out. They don't have time to study all that. But if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to take the research that people like Jackie are putting into this and then help spread the word, it makes a big, big difference. So please do that and start early. Find your candidates, get involved, stand at the polls. Most people go in not knowing who they're going to vote for, and whichever sign is the right color, or whoever happens to tell them at the last minute as they go in, vote for so-and-so, they'll protect your liberty. I'm telling you, it makes a difference. I know you think that's crazy. Does our republic really work that way? Absolutely. My consultant told me when we first ran for the legislature, we sat down and I was all about, we're going to make sure everybody knows where I stand on every single issue. And he said, Rick, you're talking about 15% of the people that are actually, he said 80% of the people are going to vote party. 40 and 40, you're not going to change their minds. 20% are actually going to not know who they're voting for. About 15 of them are just going to recognize one of the 2 names. Just not know anything about either person. They're just going to recognize one of the 2 names. Of the 5% that's left, there's about 3% that are just going to have a better feeling. They're going to know both names, but they have a better feeling because of the color of your sign, because somebody said something, they don't even remember what it was, but it was good. And then 2% are actually going to know where both candidates are on the issues, and they're going to be voting on the issues. I said, that's ridiculous, man. That can't be right. And he said, Rick, who'd you vote for Court of Criminal Appeals last year? I said, man, I don't even know who ran for Court of Criminal Appeals last year. He said, well, that's about 15 slots up above you on the ballot as state representative. All right, and you're a lawyer, and you're a political junkie, and you live, breathe, and eat this stuff. So after that, I said, okay, I believe you. And we see it every year. We see the people that are out there at the polls that are wearing the shirts and holding the signs. It makes a big, big difference. So all that to say, be involved. Don't just come today. Be involved. Right now, be involved. Put the pressure on those legislators in a very loving way, which I'm sure Jackie has coached you through. But then after the session, immediately start picking some of those legislative races where you can get involved. If your local candidate or your local incumbent's already good, then put some time, if they don't have a real hard race, then put some time into another district close by, or even across the state. You can make phone calls into that. And we're just saying be involved. Make sure that you know you can make a difference.
Right. And when we got here, he won, we got here, and it wasn't too far into the session, and he came home and he was like really discouraged, and a lot hasn't changed, and he was like, you know what, I just don't know what's going on, I'm so discouraged, like the people who campaigned on conservative principles are not voting that way, and they don't even know why they're not voting that way, or why they're voting for something that goes against what we believe. He was really frustrated, and somebody told you, I can't remember who it was, who said,
It was my dad, actually.
no, who said, when you get there, you're gonna wonder how you got there, because you're like in awe of this building, and you're like, wow, how did I get here? And then after a couple of weeks,
It's actually a member.
he said after a couple of weeks, you're gonna look around and you're gonna wonder how everybody else got here.
No.
That's, he kind of felt that way after a while.
Likely true.
Yeah, so he came home frustrated, like, what can we do? The people who are already elected don't feel like we can influence much, but out of his frustration, and he was visiting with his dad about the same thing, and his dad had an idea, why don't you start training the younger generation? And it was actually an idea he got from a program in Arkansas, and so out of that, Patriot Academy was born.
And I had gone to, when I was 19, I went to a youth leadership program in D.C. that Young Americans Foundation puts on, called the Young Conservative Student Conference. And I was 19, there were other young people there talking about policy and campaigns and elections and the future of the country. We had speakers like Dinesh D'Souza, who was only 26 at the time and just written a liberal education, Newt Gingrich, and all these people. And I came home from that going, wow, I'm not the only young person thinking about this kind of stuff. I thought I was weird for thinking about that kind of stuff. I came home, I was like, okay, cool, there's other people like this around the country. And that made me want to get very involved on my campus. And anyway, so I went to the Leadership Institute, some other trainings, and that's kind of what got me started. So I thought, well, we could do that in Texas. We could have a program where young people can get involved from an early age, learn the process really well, but not just get together with a bunch of other conservatives, actually experience what the legislative process is like. So we created Patriot Academy, and it's a full-blown mock legislative session. So our students, when they come in, I mean, they're living the life of a legislator. They're out there on that real floor, debating the bills, they're bringing their own legislation, they're in the real committee rooms, they're learning speaking skills, media skills, campaigning skills. It's so lifelike and so real that legislators that win in the primary for the first time actually come spend the summer with us at our Patriot Academy and go through the process so that they're ready in January and they really know the process. And the really fun part is while our students are on the floor debating, people will visit the Texas Capitol, and they'll go sit in the gallery and watch, and they'll come down and we'll talk to them at the back of the gallery, and they'll say, man, y'all's legislators here in Texas really are young. Because they think it's the real legislature, because these guys are so good when they're on the floor. They learn the process that well. So we're super proud of them and what they're doing. Our graduates are now serving as legislators across the country, chiefs of staff. You can't walk down a hallway here at the Texas Capitol without meeting someone that's either a legislator that went through Patriot Academy or a staffer that went through Patriot Academy. And so it's really fun to watch that impact. And the reason we're sharing that with you is so that you know there's a new generation coming up that gets this issue and that understands personal liberty and not having the state tell you what to do with your child, especially your medical choices. And these young people aren't just passionate about this, they know how to win. They're effective at the process. I remember Noah, whenever he came through Patriot Academy, got on a radio program just a week or two later, and I got to listen to that interview, and I'm telling you, it was one of the best representations of our issue that I've ever heard. You were 14 at the time, 15?
Yeah, I was 14.
14 years old, and he's on a major radio program explaining and articulating this issue in a way that, frankly, most legislators can't do. So know that there's hope in the millennials and the Gen Zers that we're raising up that are really going to fight this battle well.
The thing is, we're teaching them the proper role of government. We're teaching them where the different branches of government should not be jumping into each other's jurisdictions. But everybody who comes through Patriot Academy is not going to run for office. They're not going to be in politics. Some of them don't even really care about politics. They're going to be business people. They're going to be
Make
making
movies.
We do have a lot of, there are all these areas of life, and some of them are just going to be informed citizens and vote. But they're going to go into that understanding what the proper role of government is. And we tell them, if you go into business, and you end up becoming, do really well, then you're going to be the person to fund the people who are running for office. You might not run for office, but you're going to be involved somehow. So everybody who comes to Patriot Academy will find a role in, protecting liberty, and they will have a voice, and they'll be able to articulate it.
The most important thing is just they learn to be a good citizen, just like what you're doing right now. You're living out what the Constitution says. We, the people. You're living out what the Declaration says, that the only just powers of government come from the consent of the governed. Well, you're here this week to say to government, I give you consent for certain things, and I refuse my consent for certain things. That's how the system is supposed to work, and the members and the legislators are supposed to respond to that. And so what we're collectively saying is government does not have consent to make the medical choices for our children. We're not here to say that any particular drug or healthcare option or vaccine or anything else is evil or bad. We're for everybody having their own choice. All we're saying is let us have our choice. We don't want government making the choice for us, or some bureaucrat that doesn't know our child or know our circumstances telling us that we have to do certain things. And that's what our founding fathers rebelled against, was government forcing us to think a certain way or to do certain things. In fact, there's a great, the 10th reason in the Declaration of Independence that we declared our independence. There's 27 reasons. We always, if you grew up on Schoolhouse Rocks like I did, you thought the only reason was taxation without representation. But that's number 17, so that's way down the list. Well, number 10 says he has erected a multitude of offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. I think if that were written today, it would say he has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and inject our children with substances, right? I mean, they're trying to tell us how to take care of our children. All we're saying is, hey, we got this. We know how to raise our children. We'll do the research. We'll do the homework, and we'll make those decisions.
What we want to do next is bring up Noah and Gracie onto the stage, and we're going to talk to them about their experience.
Looking good, looking good. Look how sharp they are.
Noah did go through Patriot Academy. Gracie's been through Teen Pack, but they live this daily. They lived it for years, and they understand a lot of dimensions about this issue that a lot of people don't understand. And they're the next generation who's going to be the best advocates for this cause. So we want to hear what's on their hearts and minds. And they're kind of been put on the spot, but they're good at this. They've got Jackie's genes, and I know they will come up with something, right? So. You want to start off at Patriot Academy and talk about just, there's probably other students here your age, and what your experience was, and why, that it was something you even chose to get involved in.
All right, so first of all, can everyone hear me all right? Yeah. All right, that's good. That wasn't very confident, but it was a yes. So anyway, PA, Patriot Academy, is essentially a reenactment of government, and like Rick said over here, it's a mock legislation, and it was a last-minute thing for me and my mom. My mom was kind of like, hey, Noah, you should do this thing. I was like, I don't consent to that. But since we're all about consent here, not in this scenario, by the way, sorry. But she kind of was like, hey, by the way, I really think you need to do this. I think this will be a good experience. And I know you're a little young for this, but this will give you experience that you will thank me on, or later in life. For essentially sending me off to this. So I went, attended, and I did have relationships at PA. It was certainly a challenge, though. It's a lot about adapting and overall utilizing certain just tools and rules that the legislature has to overall just pass certain legislation that you believe in. And a great representative, Jonathan Stickland, you guys know about him? Of course he did. He once said that passing bills are good, but defeating terrible legislation is more important. Yes. And these are the things that you learn at PA. And not to mention, they have fantastic speakers. You guys have amazing speakers. And last year, or the most recent session at the National Academy, you guys actually was sent a video from Ben Shapiro, correct? Saying there's a possibility that he might speak. Like, I'm telling you.
We do have to work on him about this issue, though. I get it.
But that just goes to show the significance that PA has, especially in the conservative movement and overall. the significance that they have on this generation.
The difference I was going to say is that Matt Walsh, who's right on this issue, has actually stood on this stage and spoken to Patriot Academy. So there,
That's very true.
yes.
That is
Hey,
very
I had
true.
one question for you. So Mom convinced you to go. The question is, was Mom right?
Mom was absolutely right. No doubt, Mom.
Nothing like getting your kids to admit that in public, Jackie.
There is no bet.
There is no bet. So you're glad you came. I can't tell you how many students I've had come to Patriot Academy that mom or grandma or somebody or a friend talked them into coming. I've never had one say they regretted coming. They always end up saying afterwards, like, wow, that was amazing. I'm so glad I came. I got to meet all these. I was scared to death, but it was great. I got over that, and I got up and laid out my bill and all that good stuff. So if you have young people that you think, I don't know if they'll thrive in that environment, trust me, it's not. You don't have to be a champion debater and all that kind of stuff. We have those. But we have a lot of students that come and they learn from the back of the room initially, and then they start getting more and more brave and they get more and more involved. So it's for every young person that wants to be a better citizen and learn good leadership skills.
Yeah, absolutely. I can 100% agree. And my motto for Patriot Academy this year is 10 out of 10 would do again. So do it. That's what I'm trying to say.
And by the way, we also have a new thing. We have a military track. So if you have a military veteran in your family or in your community that you think would enjoy experiencing what they fought for and defended, when the House side is full of young people debating these issues, we have on the Senate side a Senate full of veterans of all ages, from 20s up through 70s, and they're debating the issues as well. And it also gives them a chance to interact with each other. And our graduation ceremony at the very end is a phenomenal deal where the veterans actually pass the torch of freedom to these young people, saying, hey, and they come up and they sign the declaration, they pass the torch to them and say, look, I was willing to die for your freedom, now it's time for you to step up and defend it. It kind of spikes that moment for them to know, hey, I'm dedicated now to give my life, my fortune, and my sacred honor to preserve liberty for my generation and for the next generation as well.
So you actually worked for Stickland during the campaign, right?
So I actually worked for two people. So Jonathan Stickland, like I said, great representative, and I also had the privilege of working with the Connie Burton campaign.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Good thing to put on my resume.
At 15 years old.
Yeah.
At 15, yes.
So what would be your advice to young people who are watching you and saying, wow, I mean, I'm just a kid, what could I do? And I don't know if I could have an impact on anything. I mean, is it possible for young people your age and younger to actually get their hands involved and make a difference?
It is absolutely possible. My advice to this generation who wants to get politically involved is don't let your age define your capabilities. That is the most important thing to realize. Because age, it's just a number. Capability has endless possibility.
I want to share, Noah doesn't even know this, but I mean, talking to both the legislators that he worked for and the other campaign people on the team, they all commented on how, I mean, I cannot believe he's 15 years old. He was as effective as anybody else on the team. It was like he was 25 years old and was meant for this. So you left a very good impression on both those campaigns as well.
So Gracie.
Mama, be proud.
Yeah. I want to know, growing up in a home with a sibling who's been injured, does it make you want to get involved more? Do you have plans to, like, advocate for, parental rights and medical freedom? Has it inspired you? In what way?
It absolutely has. Ashland was life-changing. It was a big lesson in life experience, definitely. And it definitely it makes me want to fight for our rights for my children, my future grandchildren, for everybody. And I want to have that choice for vaccines and everything.
Good. So how do you, coming from a home where you've had to experience things as a young girl that a lot of people your age don't have to do. How do you stay, positive and have a positive outlook on what your future holds when you had to go through a lot at your age, both of you?
I had to keep a positive mindset. So every time, like, let's say Ashley was having a meltdown, or even just running around the house and doing her thing, I'd always think, like, one day she's gonna be as happy. Like, we've always had this dream of being on a ranch. She loves animals, absolutely loves them, and so do I. And so we have this big dream of a ranch, and we're gonna have horses and cows and all these animals, and she's gonna be happy. She's gonna have her own place, and she's gonna live, and she's gonna be happy and content and free.
That's so sweet. Well, I think y'all are special because you actually do have such empathy and compassion that a lot of people your ages don't have. I mean, you really are in an elite group of siblings that are, I think, just head and shoulders above where other people your age are, and I think that's really special. And I just see you guys being the voice of this movement, and you training other people your age to be the voice of this movement. And we are here to do anything we can to help y'all get there. And hopefully we're going to be training a lot more to be coming behind you to support what you're doing. So I'm just really proud of y'all. And we're going to see you at Patriot Academy next, right?
Hey, how many people that are 50 would be scared to death to come up on this stage and sit here and talk to a room full of people? 13 and 15 with no problem. They might be shaking inside, but it's not even showing. Y'all are doing fantastic. Really well.
Oh, no. Yeah,
No.
no, really. Well, I mean, if y'all have any questions, like I said, feel free to ask. We don't know exactly how much time we have.
Okay.
Really? We're good? Okay, come sit.
Okay, well,
I'll sit back here.
Sit. Yeah.
I'll here. Okay, so you guys have just been amazing. I am enormously proud. Gracie, you just literally made me go grab the tissue. Thank you both for sharing. It takes a very special person to work with me and to live with me because this has consumed me. This has consumed, there are no words to express how compelled I am to do what I do. And I could not do it without my children. But while my children have been an enormous support and my greatest motivator, I truly have been embraced by people like the Green family, who, you were talking about the military track and Patriot Academy track, but there's also a citizen track. And I want to touch on this because, let's see, 2.5 years ago, 2016, I did the citizen track, okay? So if you do not know, my story very quickly is, as the parent of a vaccine-injured child, we were living on this little farm. I was caring for my child, and a bill was proposed to take away our rights to send our children to public school. At the time, these children were going to public school, and I needed to do something about this to fight this bill. I put up Texans for Vaccine Choice. I never in a million years thought it would land me here today doing this full time. All that to say, we were very successful. We defeated the bill, and it became my life passion. But when I stepped foot into this building the first time, I hated this place. I didn't kind of hate this place. The fact that I had to put a dress on and put on makeup and go and speak to these people, and to just give you perspective, when I launched the group, I didn't know who my state rep was. No clue. So when you see us up here, you see my family, you see my children, you're like, oh wow, that's amazing. All of you are amazing. All of you are capable. All of you have a role in this movement, and it doesn't matter where it is, find your role. But 2.5 years ago, I came to Patriot Academy, did not know what I was getting myself into.
You had that look. You did.
I had that look. I showed up and I was like, what have I gotten myself into? But everybody was so sweet and so amazing, and it really changed the course of my life. If you know me, you know my life has drastically been changed. You did not only give me the tools to be successful here, you were teaching life skills. You were teaching these young people how to stand firm in the face of adversity. The golf ball. I still have my golf ball. So, you know what, can we go ahead and talk about that golf ball? What does the golf ball symbolize?
So, we don't want to just raise up people that are effective at this game of politics and can come in here and get elected and get legislation passed. We wanted to raise up leaders of integrity that had a good ethical foundation and would stand for truth, because you don't see 90% of what happens in a legislative session. I mean, you see what happens publicly in the committee and what happens publicly on the floor, but it's the behind the scenes, backroom deals and arm twisting and all the things that go on to ultimately get a bill through or to kill a bill. And most of the decisions are not public, voting records that you find out about, which is why the founders were adamant about electing men and women of integrity that would do the right thing when no one else was watching. If they didn't have that foundation and that willingness to do what was right behind the scenes, then you could forget it. So when we started Patriot Academy, we said we don't want to just teach the skills, we want to teach the values, and we want to reach the heart of these young people when they come in. And so we started using this metaphor of a golf ball. And the point was that you could lose your integrity in public, you could lose your integrity in private. And so we made the golf ball a character symbol. We said, this is your character. And the first day when they walk in, we hand them this golf ball. We said, you have to hold that golf ball in your hand throughout the week of Patriot Academy. You cannot put it in your purse. You can't stick it in your pocket. It's got to be on display because your character has got to be open and on display for people all the time. And it's going to constantly remind you to be thinking about your character and what you truly believe, and are you exemplifying that? And so if someone loses their golf ball during Patriot Academy, they have to get up in front of the whole group and recite a character quote. That we have an app where they have all these character quotes from people throughout history. And if they lose their golf ball a second time, they have to actually sing the Larry the Cucumber song from VeggieTales. But instead of, oh, where's my hairbrush, they have to sing, oh, where's my golf ball. So it is quite an embarrassing moment, so it gets people to not want to lose their golf ball. So I will be honest, when our team came up with this idea, I said, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. We are not going to have golf balls and Larry the Cucumber at Patriot Academy. And they finally convinced me, let's try it. And after the first summer that we did that, I started watching on Facebook, and these students were literally taking pictures with their golf ball on the beach, in libraries, at school, in the classroom, everywhere, saying, I am thinking about my character and keeping my character on display. And I get chills just thinking about it. So it became this really cool metaphor that we've been doing for 10 or 12 years now. And just like Jackie said, she's still got her golf ball. It just makes you think about, what's my character right now? And am I displaying my character in a good way? And you ought to see these students, man. They're typing with a golf ball somehow. I mean, they all have like carpal tunnel when they're done, but yeah, they fit. So anyway, it's kind of part of the program. It sounds goofy when you just hear about it, but when you experience it, it really does work. And it just tells you that's what we're about. I mean, we want more than just effective leaders. We want effective leaders of integrity that are standing for the right thing.
I was just going to say real fast, just to show you the difference in 21 years ago, when were you in the house? When we got here, we already had a little bit of a background with what our decision was going to be towards vaccine. We had done some research. We had a good friend who taught us a lot in a time where it wasn't even, you didn't even question. You just, did, blindly followed. And we were already a little weird for even questioning things and doing things differently for our kids. And then got here, and there was literally one person that we knew of in the entire state who was here, who knew anything about this issue. And you could have never even asked for 5 people to show up and be here 21 years ago because nobody was talking about it. It just wasn't, it was just taboo. You didn't talk about this. And Rick actually started the reform then with speaking out, and he was definitely like, people would look at him like, something's wrong with him. Like he filed a bill to allow people to make their own personal decisions about vaccines. Who does that, And at that point, we only had a religious exemption, and people were just having to come testify. They had to literally lie about their religion to get exemptions, and obviously it needed to be changed. And that's when the fight started to add conscientious exemption, and it was a hard-fought battle. We did not win at first, but it definitely opened the door for people to be like, they think differently than us.
I just gotta say, I mean, it brought on a vitriolic response. It wasn't just, oh, he's kind of different. It was, this guy has to be defeated and removed from the legislature. It was the reason the left came after me big time, and a lot of Republicans too. Texas Department of Health hated me over it. They did a lot of things to undermine us. I mean, it created a lot of enemies. And There was one other member of the legislature that felt as strongly as I did about this issue, and we were able to team up and work on it. All 4 years I was here, we gained a lot of members and a lot of support, started getting co-authors, actually ended up with some public health legislators that actually really saw the light and said, we now understand why you want to exempt out of this particular one or that particular one, and you should have the right to do that. And so it was a hard-fought battle. They created a lot of enemies, and continues to be that way. I mean, that's
So
it.
here's my question.
Yeah.
How long have you been fighting this battle?
Let's see, 98 is when we started. So, well, yeah, since Rep. Trey was born, so 23 years.
Is it going away?
No, and the fight will never stop. I mean, believe me, you guys can win every piece of legislation that Jackie has put on your list this year. That doesn't mean you go home and say, okay, that's great, now we don't have to worry about this. Next year they will be back with other legislation, and it ebbs and flows, and you have a couple of years where it's kind of quiet and there's not a big attack. But right now, this is a hot issue, and the other side is geared up, and Big Pharma's spending a ton of money, and state, what I call statists, people in government that really do think they're smarter than you and that they should make the decisions for you. They see an opportunity right now with these outbreaks that have happened, and so they're going gung ho. And so even if we win everything over the next few weeks, that should encourage you to realize you can win, but then do not lay down. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Just get stronger. Reload.
Yeah, and here's what I want to pinpoint with these kids. A lot of people will ask them, why do you do this? They know, they understand, they don't have a choice, okay? This issue affects all of us. They are the next generation, and I don't mean to make this sound like a burden, but it is our obligation to make sure they are equipped to fight this battle. I want to touch on 2 points. Noah's bill at Patriot Academy repealed the 1986 law. Who thinks that's an amazing Grace's bill that she just passed at Team PACT in her mock legislature was the Regaining Children's Health Act. And the name says it all. It's basically putting out a vaccine schedule and giving parents a choice, but the vaccine schedule that had less adverse reactions. And ended, my favorite line in the bill at the very end was a parent or individual may opt out of any vaccine at any time for any reason without consequence. Okay? Phenomenal bills that they worked very hard on drafting, but I would encourage you, this is take the vaccine issue. This is how we handle it in my household, okay? While we're fighting on the front lines of vaccine choice, this is your education, this is how you choose to practice your faith, this is your Second Amendment rights, this is everything. And if you hold those liberties, if those are valuable to you, you don't get to be complacent and sit on the sidelines. You have to be on the front lines fighting for our freedom. So if that is important to you, if you believe that we cannot just be on the defense, but we can actually make change and be on the offense, if you believe that you need to go to Patriot Academy, you need to figure out what they are all about, and you need to get your kids involved. If not with Patriot Academy, one of the other organizations, but we cannot afford to be complacent with training up the next generation.
I would be derelict in my duty if I didn't jump on that and finish the commercial here. So patriotacademy.com is where you can learn more. I'm going to give you a couple of options. Okay, if you've got a young person 16 to 25, get them to Patriot Academy this summer right here at the
People are welcome.
Yes, I was going to give all the options, right? So 16 to 25 is the student group, and then military of any age, and then everyone of every age outside the 16 to 25 can come on the citizen track and experience exactly what Jackie did. You'll get to go through all the workshops. You'll learn how to testify in committee. You'll actually do that. You'll pick bills at the Patriot Academy that you want to kill or that you want to help pass, and so you'll literally do what you would do in a real session. That's our National Academy. It's the last week of July. It starts on Sunday night with a barbecue at our ranch out in Dripping Springs. And then the rest of the week, Monday through Saturday, is here at the Capitol. One of the coolest things this year is that our Friday night dinner, when the students will sign the Declaration of Independence in front of everyone, happens on August 2nd, which is the anniversary of the actual signing of the Declaration of Independence. So I'm really looking forward. It wasn't July 4th. Sorry to mess up everybody's history. That was just Hancock and Secretary Thompson. Everybody else signed on August 2nd. So it's going to be a really cool night. That's the National Academy. Now, for some reason, your student cannot come that week. We have regional academies around the country, and they are welcome to go to one of those. We do Arizona, Idaho, Delaware, Florida. We have 3 in June. We have 1 in July. The one in July in Delaware, we actually drive up to Philly for one night, and the students debate their bills in Independence Hall, in the room where the framer, in Congress Hall and Independence Hall. And so it's a pretty phenomenal night. And then the last commercial I'm going to give you, all of this only works if we remain a constitutional republic. And that means we need to know what our rights are. The first Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court was John Jay. He's also a framer of the Constitution and one of the 3 authors of the Federalist Papers. He said that every citizen ought to read and study the Constitution and teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they've been violated and be the better prepared to defend and assert them. So you've got to know your Constitution. You need to know your state Constitution. You need to know your federal Constitution. We've created a program called Constitution Coach. Go to constitutioncoach.com. I am looking for people to host Constitution classes in their home, their church, wherever, somewhere in your community. I will train you on how to host it. You'll use our DVDs. I teach the class in Independence Hall, so it's kind of cool. It's unlike it. There's a lot of Constitution classes out there. All the rest of them will put you to sleep, okay? This one's not like that. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's engaging, and most importantly, it will help you build a local army right there in your community that is fired up about these things and is learning how to defend our republic and how to restore our constitutional republic. So, PatriotAcademy.com and ConstitutionCoach.com. We need you in the fight.
Very quick.
Oh, so I just want to say, first of all, whenever we were giving you were shouting out my bill, actually it was a co-author from Langley. Just want to shout that out there. All right, it was not just me, not you, but you did a part.
Mom is here.
Yeah, there we go. You did the deal. Let's just say that. And it was mainly her. I just counted votes.
Hey, and even if you can't come to all of Patriot Academy, just come for a day and watch. It'll give you hope.
Look at the kids. Like we talked about the citizen track. The truth was I kind of ditched the citizens and went with the kids because it was so much fun, such a great experience. But amazing. There is no better teacher out there for our young people than this family right here. You guys are amazing. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for being a voice for vaccine choice. We need more families like this who are not touched by injury, but do it because it's the right thing to do. So big round of applause for our friends.
Thank you, guys.